Well, Nicholas, we are doing this episode in front of a live studio audience today as my child refuses to nap. Welcome back to TLDR. I'm your friendly neighborhood backracker, Dr. Joe. With me, as always, is my hunk in crime, and together we are the Woodward and Bernstein of the Dorkshire Universe. Fire, my guy. How's it going?
Does did Woodward and Bernstein have like a third person that helped them at all? Because we could give Violet that nickname now too, right?
Yeah, well, at L, right?
There you go. There you go. Anyways, I'm great, Joe. I'm excited to do like a mainline episode. We haven't done one of these in a little bit. You know, we've had the solicits, we've had the interviews that we've had going on. We did the first week of Just What's New paired with an interview. Of course, the Zdarsky interview came out recently. We've talked about it a ton already. It went really well. Had a great time with it. But I'm just glad that people finally got the chance to listen to it and see like, what we've been talking about this whole time. It was outstanding.
Yeah, that was an absolute blast. Just right out of the rip, you know, with me introducing him and him just going, Jesus Christ! Like,
Yeah,
you knew we were in for a ride. So
yeah, and sorry, I'm cutting you off. I even kept in the little like vocal like warm up that I did beforehand, where he starts mocking me too. I was like, am I gonna do this? Yeah, gotta do it. Gotta do it.
Yeah,
It was great.
That was a lot of fun. That was a big one for me, and we got another one coming up that we'll tease as it gets a little bit closer that we did, and I'm really looking forward to that one. That was a fun conversation. So
that was one of look, we always enjoy the conversations we have on here with the creators that we bring on, but it's just as we have people on more and more, the people that we've had on previously, you can tell a difference. Like, you know, it's great for all our listeners because like now they get to benefit from it too, because we're getting more, and it's a totally different experience. As much as I enjoy some of these bigger things where it's like, you know, we're getting to know people and feeling them out a little bit and all that, as we develop these relationships, it's like the interviews are only going to get better, and they're not going away because everybody's like, oh, we'll come back. And it's not just like they're saying it to be polite to make us look good. They actually mean it. Like because we, as evidence, we've had, you know, someone like Scott Snyder back on 4 times. We've had Rodney on a couple times, and Sean Lewis a couple times. Speaking of Sean Lewis,
Colin Bunn a couple of times.
But speaking of Sean Lewis, as much as we've been talking about Colin Bunn, who's another person who's had a ridiculous year, Sean Lewis is up there. He's like, we talk about like who had the best year this year among at least writers. Sean Lewis is one of those people because we found out that Thumbs has been optioned for a TV show through Todd McFarlane's TV and movie production company. It's going to be one of his first 2 TV projects that the company does. So friggin' Thumbs, amazing news. And we obviously you talked about it on the show a while back.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely fantastic. And I think at the time you asked me if I think it should be TV or movie, and given the, you know, given the scope of the book and, you know, how many issues it was, I thought, okay, yeah, you could probably adapt this to a movie and be pretty kick-ass. But now thinking about it as a TV series and what they can do with it, I am extremely excited and just pleased as punch, Nicholas, that, you know, like not only is just the announcement in and of itself that McFarlane's doing, you know, his own production company, but that is one of the pillars in which he's founding it on. Like, that's awesome. And I think that speaks volumes to Sean's work and that book and sort of what he's been doing at Image, you know, lately. So that was awesome news. I'm wondering, I don't know if we know this, where will it be? Will it be Amazon? Will it be Netflix? Will it be the Hulu?
I don't think we know where that is yet. And maybe that's going to be part of like when they put it together, because, you know, obviously they got to work on the pilot and all those different things. So maybe we'll find that out. We'll definitely find that out down the line. But I wonder I don't know when in that process happens. But we'll definitely ask Sean more about it, because we're going to have him on at some point, right? Because the Scorch is coming in December, and he's been killing it with King Spawn. So a good time to kind of talk. You know, we had a lot of stuff to catch up with him, even though we had him on just back in the summer, right?
Right. Yeah, it was
What's happened?
July, August, I think we had him on. So yeah, a lot. I mean, the year that has been, right, 2021, like so many, like, you want to talk about busy people, you know, what Snyder's doing, what Barnes is doing, what Sean Lewis is doing, what Tom Taylor's doing, you know, what Tinian's doing,
what Cullen's doing,
Tynan's doing, Cullen's doing, right? It's been absolutely crackers. So it's going to actually kind of be of a bummer to see this year end, but it'll be exciting to see sort of where 2022 goes. And I can't wait to do our annual when that comes. But
that's
some great shit.
Yeah, that's gonna be December's gonna be a wild month for us, and I don't know if we're gonna we got to figure out if we're gonna be able to do like a holiday thing like we did last year.
No, we'll figure that out.
Yeah, that was you got the possibly the best Christmas book ever. So maybe we'll have to look and see if there are other ones that we can do for the holidays. But before we get way ahead to that, we got to catch up first. Now, personally, I didn't have a lot of single issues that I had to catch up on. There are some that I have to get to, but I actually been utilizing Hoopla a lot. I found this on my own randomly searching the internet and whatnot. And it's a great app, Joe. I highly recommend you.
Have you promoted it at all? You should talk about it.
No, I've never done it really on this show, and it's kind of like I feel like I've been holding back, and it's really wrong. So I want you to know about it now, and I want our listeners to know about it.
It sounds like you're doing everyone a disservice by not talking about it.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, this is a show for the people, of course, or the people's podcast of the DSG, but it's still a show for the people. But seriously, I've been reading actually Injustice. I never read Injustice, of course, played the video game, have the second one too as well on my Xbox One. And I'm reading it in the movie came out recently, the animated movie, and it's just like the animated movie is really good. The video game is really cool. This is a Tom Taylor book, and it's just like it's everything that you'd expect a Tom Taylor.
I've never read it either, so
I think this is where Tom Taylor.
Back pocket.
I think this. I think this is one where Tom Taylor. I think this is the one where like put him on the map, and it's fucking good, man. Oh god, I love it. So
I've played the video game. The video game's awesome, but yeah. I haven't watched the movie yet, and I definitely didn't read the series. So maybe talk about that one.
I could do that for sure. I am definitely going to read all of what's out there so far, though. Maybe try because I don't think they're done in that world. So I think maybe I'll try and time it out where it's like whenever he brings it back up again, because I got to imagine he'll do that again. But anyways, that's what I've been catching up on reading that. And there's some other stuff on Hoopla too. I want to read Punk Rock Jesus, which is a Sean Murphy book. I haven't read that yet. That's available on there. They have so much stuff there. So I have a few things set aside.
And we have to catch up on Saga. I know Keith's finished. He's all caught up. But I know I have a couple volumes left. Because we might have a little something in the works.
Yeah, I think when it comes time when Saga's supposed to come back late January, I think it's the last Wednesday of January, if not the second to last. We want to try and do something for that because that's a big deal.
Yeah,
it's one of the best comics of all time, if not the best comic of all time. So we will be doing something for everybody, especially for those like Keith who read it a long time ago. I was reading it for the show when I did it a while back, and as much as I talked about it then, this will be more of a we'll do some non-spoilers, but it's probably gonna be more spoiler-filled, kind of as just a return to everything for everybody, so like major plot points and everything.
It's gonna have. The book's been out for God. It's been on hiatus for longer than we've done this show.
Yeah,
it's gonna have to be spoiler-filled. You know what I mean? Just talk. You can't not talk spoilers when you talk about that book. But I had a few things that I caught up on. I found a hidden stack in my living room that I had put away a few weeks ago and completely forgot about. So Death of Doctor Strange #2. Good, not great. Darth Vader 17. That continues to be a good book, but like the way they released this book, like the events that take place in this book happen, like the timeline was just screwy. Good book.
Because of the bounty hunter stuff?
Yeah, they just there's events that happened here that already happened. Good book. I can't wait for this event to be over.
A lot more left though.
Shit. Red Sonja #3. Fantastic. Justice League Last Ride #6. I read that because 7 comes out today. I've read
Chip's
both
book,
of those.
Right?
Chip's book. Absolutely tremendous. And Gun Honey #3.
Titan.
Man,
really?
I can't wait to talk about this book on this show.
Okay, because I remember when we first heard about it, I was just like, it got brought up in the Geeks Worldwide Discord and everything, and it's okay, whatever. Like I've read some Titan books, but that's not something right away I'm going to go look at. And then you gave it a look, and then it's just you've been all about it.
Yeah, absolutely tremendous. This issue, every issue. Just it's absolutely fantastic. That's the only way to explain it. And it's already been optioned for a TV show, which it's gonna have to be on, Skinamax or HBO because some things in this last issue, man. Woo!
Really? Yeah, I've seen some of the covers, and it's definitely it looks like it's a little risque.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was a little risque. That's for sure.
Okay, well, risque is one thing. The book that I'm talking about today, though, is it's the opposite of risque. Like it's on that same end of the spectrum where it's like this is not for children, but it's not for children in a totally different manner. But we'll get to that later. Right now, we've caught up. Now it's time to get to what's new, Joe. And let's see, let's start with DC this week.
Yeah.
What?
Oh, I was just gonna say DC is just, usually it's Image that's put. It's been DC the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, it has. Well, Image has been in kind of like the disarray. Like we've heard about, of course, the printing issues and everything, and I feel like we talked about it with the recent interview that we have that you guys will hear a little bit later down the line. Then I think it came up with Chip as well, and there may be somebody else that it came up with. But obviously, the printing issue is a problem, and it's impacted a lot of people. But DC seems to be like the only one, or maybe Marvel too. Like the big two don't seem to be as hit as hard by it as the indies, and maybe that's what it comes down to at the end of it all.
Yeah.
But DC definitely had a great week. Of course, from my list that you aren't also reading, I have Batman Urban Legends issue 9, Future State Gotham issue 7. I still have not read Harley Quinn, the Eat Bang Kill tour. Issue 3 is out this week, but I do want to give that one a look because I really enjoyed that show. Titans United, the first issue was solid. I kind of lost sight of this book. Then there's Black Manta issue 3, Superman versus Lobo 2. Are you out on this series?
Yeah, I never finished the first one.
It was Mirka Andolfo's art too.
Yeah, I love her art, and Sarah Beatty is one of the writers on it. I don't know. I got halfway through. It's like I just never finished it, and then it was like it's been like 3 months, 4 months,
it's been a long time. Yeah,
like
it's
in
weird.
between issues. So I completely forgot about it, to be honest with you.
Now, there's one book that's on. We have 2 books from DC that we're both reading. I want to break those down a little bit. One of them, though, I didn't get to read the first issue, but you did, and we saw one of our coworkers over at Geeks Worldwide wasn't a huge fan of the first issue of this book, Batman the Imposter 2. You have read this already. What did you think?
It's absolutely fantastic. I don't know why, like, to each their own, right?
Right, of course.
This shit is all subjective, but it's exactly what we sort of clamor for, and it's giving us a Batman story that's different, right? That isn't just the same old look, isn't the same old story, and so while the art is definitely different, and Bruce Wayne and Batman, I would think, or I would say, that Batman and Bruce Wayne almost comes off as a sociopath as my voice fucking cracks.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. The first issue, especially, because that's the one I can speak to so far.
And so it's different. That's, we're used to Batman being an odd duck and we're used to him being a loner, but there's something about this story in which, you're getting some real good detective work in the sense that Batman has to find essentially himself. Someone is going around Gotham and killing all these people, and Batman's taking the fall for it because by all intents and purposes, it is Batman. And there's this relationship between, Bruce Wayne and the person that, the lead detective on the case. It's just a cat and mouse game. And then there's a therapist involved. And so we're seeing Bruce Wayne in a different light. We're seeing Batman in a different light. And I think it's absolutely fascinating. And it's different. And that's what I want with Batman.
In the first issue too, and one of the things, of course, we worry about pacing when it comes to books too. We don't want like these quick, fast things. Of course, we don't want just like we want like there's one book that came out this week that we will talk about later from Image that is like it was not as fast as the first issue, but it's like you read that thing in a blink. As much as there's a lot going on panels, there's no dialogue. We don't want that. But at the same time, you don't want to there are times where it gets too bogged down, gets very stagnant. Yeah. And the Batman the Imposter is the opposite of that. I feel like it moves very quickly at a very brisk pace. And like you said, the biggest thing is it's handling Bruce in a different manner. And that's the kind of shit that we want.
So and I love that it's a different villain. Like we don't know who the villain, we just know that the villain is an imposter Batman.
Right.
And that could be anybody. And it might not even be anyone that we know.
Right.
Right. So there's great intrigue there, because I love the fact that at least it's not right from the onset. You don't know that it's the Joker or it's the Riddler or it's the Penguin or it's whomever, right? Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of intrigue to this book, whereas like say Batman versus Big B, like that one, I don't know, that's a different Batman type of story, but that one doesn't really grab me as this one does.
You're not a fan of the Big Bad Wolf? Okay. Well, to each their own, like you said. But you also have Joker issue 9 came out this week. Then Pennyworth issue 4. You still loving Pennyworth?
Oh, fantastic! Yeah.
Okay. So maybe a show-worthy book or no?
Possible.
Okay, because that one's like 12 issues or something, or is it 7 issues? It's
7.
7. Okay. Okay. I knew it was limited, and then I like that DC's doing that too. They're doing it with Human Target as well, and of course with their Black Label books they do that. And then we also got the book that we've been waiting for a while from Lemire, Robin and Batman issue 1. What were your thoughts on this Dick Grayson narrated book?
I absolutely love it. I mean, this is Indy Lemire brought to DC. Now, I haven't read much of Lemire's other DC stuff. Like he did a Joker run, which I haven't read, which I want to. But you know what? I've said this time and time again. You know what Lemire does best is emotion. It's sort of capturing that inner turmoil that some of these characters have. And so when you think of Robin, you think of Dick Grayson. We see Nightwing now, and we see a much different character than what we're getting here. And so like we're getting that almost teen angst Dick Grayson, and we're, you know, Lemire's, you know, bringing, you know, what Lemire does to that character, which is awesome. And the relationship between him and Bruce and his early training and, you know, everything with his family, it was awesome. And the art, I love the use of watercolor.
Right? That definitely jumped out to me too.
This was a fantastic book.
Yeah, really, really good first issue. Really like Dick Grayson's and like getting that insight into the character at such a young age. Such a pivotal point in his life. When you look at the lifespan of the character, it's just like this would be a lot. Like imagine going through this at this age, like, and never mind like the stuff with your parents and everything. But now it's like you're training to become Robin, and like there's never been a Robin before. This is the first guy who's doing it, and like he's figuring it out along the way. And Batman is like a worse parent than we see him today, and he's not a great parent now. So it's a lot.
Yeah, and you almost get some Jason Todd vibes from a young Dick Grayson here, right? Like just that inner angst. Like imagine being that age, and you know, like of course you're gonna be pissed off and angry. Right, and you feel like you can do more, and so it was great.
And you're being like you think you're invincible, and like Batman's kind of teaching you how to like go up against an average person. You kind of can be invincible. It's gonna you're getting a lot closer to that. So it's an interesting exercise, and I'm very. This is a limited run as well. Is this only like a 2-issue thing? It's not long.
No, it's longer than that, but I don't know exactly how long.
Maybe it's 6 issues, but either way, I think this is going to be a must read for all Batman fans and any Nightwing fans out there too. Great start to this. We move over to Marvel, and I know you don't have anything on your pull list for Marvel this week, but we do get the first issue of the new Venom run. We also get the first issue of the new Thing run, and I plan on reading both of those. We also got Star Wars: The High Republic issue 11, which I've been reading. We have Kieran Gillen's Eternals issue 7. And then Deadpool, Black, White, and Blood issue 4, which I've been reading. Are you out on that one right now?
I mean, I read the first issue and then I just haven't.
Yeah.
Someone hasn't been uploading them into the, has been doing a piss poor job uploading their Marvel books.
I don't know who that would be. I don't know. If that was that person, they wouldn't have a stack right to their left, knowing full well that they haven't uploaded Moon Knight, Black Widow, the last 2 Star Wars: The High Republic, Inferno 2. That's not me. So I don't know.
Couldn't be
what we're doing here, but that thought doesn't cross my mind daily. Should I upload those things? And then it slips my mind. That doesn't happen ever. Anyways, now that we're passive aggressively going through this, Image did have had an interesting week. Of course, it's Undiscovered Country issue 17. Are you caught up on Undiscovered Country or no?
No, I'm a few issues behind.
Okay. Of course, Scott Snyder books, Charles Soule. We talked with Scott about that. I think that was the first time we had him on. We talked a little about it, but we haven't really had a chance to talk to him about it much since. Sea of Stars, of course, you were reading that. We got Stillwater issue 11, of course, Chip Zdarsky. That's a Skybound book through Image. And then there was Phenom X issue 1, which definitely got a little bit of buzz coming in because is it John Leguizamo? Is that the actor?
I think so, yeah.
I can't remember. I know it's Leguizamo. I just can't remember if it's John or something else. But
John Leguizamo.
It's definitely not Leguizamo. Anyways, I was reading it. I'm like, all right, I got to read. I looked like, the cover may be interesting, whatever. And then it's like, it's Leguizamo book, okay. And then I start reading it, and I'm like, this is that's not great. And there's a difference. We've made it pretty clear on this show that there's a difference between not great and not for us, right?
Is it above the Patton Oswalt line or
Well,
below?
let me tell you this. There's
Oh,
another.
look, we have a guest.
There's another book from Image that came out this week that was that you had more than 20 pages into the story, and it was like, okay, like it makes sense. With this, it's like this is a 50 something page book. Are you shitting me? So there's a big difference there. So I will. I don't know if I'm gonna go try back and finish it, but I was not a fan of Phenom X issue 1. That said, we also had Ordinary Gods issue 5, which we're both reading. And then we have 2 books from Image that we kind of wanted to dive a little bit deeper into. We got a first issue and a second issue. Which one do you want to start with?
Let's go with The Righteous Thirst for Vengeance, because this book, I don't know if I've ever been more intrigued with a book and also more confused at the same time.
Yes.
Right?
So fucking confusing, this issue. I honestly, Joe, I read this issue and then I'm like, I got to go back and look at the first one, because like, what? Huh?
Yeah.
And there's no dialogue in the first one. It's like,
and there's hardly any dialogue in this one either. And I had to go back and read the synopsis of both the first and second issue. And I'm like, okay, is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? Is he seeking like what? I still don't know what the hell is going on. This is a book, I think, like week or month to month, probably like isn't like the best, but like when you get that first volume and you can rip through them all together, it's gonna make a hell of a lot more sense.
Yeah, that's
but like when you have that time off in between, and my daughter's here and just having a ball with the green screen right now. But like so it's like, oh, you forget, and because there's not a lot of dialogue, you're like, what the heck, but I think when the story is all told and put together and you read and you rip through it all the way through, then I think it's going to be a really good book.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty fair point. That when you go and look at it in the trade form, it's going to make a big difference. But for right now, it's like I go through this and I'm going through the same issues as you, Joe. It's like, is this character someone that we like? Is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? Where did this happen?
Confused. I'm so fucking confused.
Yeah, it's like I can't figure out what his deal is, and his whole way. There was some clarity, I think, for me. And I you know what? Normally we don't want to spoil things, of course, on this show, but I want to say like there's something he does on the bus in the first issue where he's looking at his phone, right, and he's tracking things, and that's where he ends up getting to that house. So it's the first issue. This has been out for a while. Like, I think we see that he was tracking something, and then it brought him to this location, of course. So all the stuff that he does in this issue, like he was already onto this, like what he has stumbled upon. But then it's like he like when he stumbled upon it in the first issue, like the aftermath of the death and everything, it's like, oh fuck, like I'm actually like really getting close to it. And of course he takes steps closer in the second issue. I think he is a good guy. He's trying to try and get back at somebody or find out why something happened to someone close to him. That's what it seems like. Just with the title.
And then I'm just like, oh, so I need to read them all like together, I think, because like I mean it takes 2 minutes to read the issue.
Oh my god,
honestly, right?
But it's good. It's good too. It's not like it's just
it's intriguing as hell. And I think because of that sort of, that lack of dialogue and you have this just real visual storytelling, that the confusion just makes you want to keep reading.
Right. Yeah, definitely. I'm very like I remember seeing the book pop up on my list. Like, okay, yep, whatever. Got to go. I'll do all these other ones. Then when I'm like go to read it, it's like, oh, that's right. This is that book that's like, I'm like, what the fuck is going on? It was such an interesting decision to just have like next to no dialogue in the first one, and there's almost nothing in this one too. There's definitely more. It's honestly like it's like 5 times more than the last issue, I think, but it's just there was nothing in the last issue.
Yeah.
And then of course we have What's the Furthest Place from Here, issue 1 by Matt Rosenberg. And this was one of those ones where I think we had talked about it a while ago. I heard him say this on an interview elsewhere, that this was a book that he had it as like this is the first 3 issues, like that he like of the actual book originally, because it's like a 64-page first issue. It's a lot. And I forgot that till we were reading it, like, oh, this thing's really long. But there's a lot in this. But it did make sense to me to have all this in an opening issue, because you're trying to set the scene, you're trying to introduce us to characters and kind of present problems or whatever. But it was very weird. It was very weird. I'm in after the first issue. I thought it was good. It's definitely like you have my interest. How did you feel
Yeah.
about it?
So, I mean, I too forgot that it was so bloody long, but it had to be because if this was just a standard comic book, issue,
Hmm.
18, 20, 22 pages, however, you would have been like, what huh?
Hmm.
And so there was a lot going on. There was a bit of jumping around, a lot of characters, and the art, like, it was funny because we were talking about this beforehand, and I was like, did Tyler Boss drew this, but like that's not his. Why is his art so different? I got him confused with Tyler Kirkham,
I just don't know what the hell you're
right?
doing.
Well, Tyler and Tyler, right?
Yeah,
So,
it's
and
very
then
so
it's like,
hard. Yes,
so
clearly.
like that like knocked it down for me, and then I realized, like, oh no, wait, that's not. Yeah, that's
That's his
that's
art
Tyler
style.
Boss's art. That's not okay. Okay, so, but like, you know, the art style, for the book is very unique, and the story's unique, and where it ends definitely leaves you on a good cliffhanger.
Hmm.
And like part of me thinks like, okay, this probably could have been pared down a little bit,
Hmm.
right?
Could have.
Like I get like he could, like I just said, like he couldn't end it like where you would end a standard issue, because that would just be like that's dumb. That doesn't make sense.
Right.
That's an odd choice. But like if it was maybe a double issue, I think that would have been like, if they probably could have cut some of it down a little bit, like just because the store, like there was a lot to really unpack here.
There's a lot to unpack, and it's confusing. Like we talk about the like our rights for vengeance being confusing, but like we're thrown into this post-apocalyptic world, and it's like, but it's still like it's not. It's like all run down and everything. And it's just like, what's going on? Like you're kids, but you're like you kind of look older, and
Yeah, you don't really get a sense of what's going on really until that last bit.
mm-hmm.
And there's still so much left that's to be explained, like, why is the world the way it is, and who exactly are the strangers, and why is it just kids? Like there's still, like, we got
Yeah.
some information, like basically what we know is what the world is in that moment,
Yep.
but we don't know how they got there,
Mm-hmm.
and we still don't know the dynamics between the different little territories that we're introduced to. So I'm hoping that in the next issue we get some of that,
Yes.
because otherwise, I don't know.
I don't want a triple issue again. I will say
No,
that.
no, no, no,
I
no, no. Yeah,
I probably still give it a chance regardless, but I prefer like double is fine, but I don't want to go too far. And it's not like I felt there was a lot of fluff or anything. I felt like it was all important stuff. It's just it's a lot to take in at once, but you kind of need all of it for this story because you're setting
yeah.
up this new world
They
and
could have
everything.
pared it down a bit. It definitely could have been pared down a bit,
Maybe
but
a bit,
it,
but like like how much is a bit? Is it like you think it's a third? Like you should have just been two issues, like condensed all that down.
I just think the information that we got, it could have been told a little bit more concisely.
Maybe. Okay. Maybe that's a fair point. But what was I gonna say? But yeah, the art is like that's not for either of us. It's not like Boss's art style is not necessarily our favorite. But I've definitely opened up myself a little bit more to like trying like giving other art styles a chance because like maybe it goes with the fluidity of the story more. And oftentimes that's the case. So like I'm open to it because it seemed to fit this story where it's kind
Yeah,
of
it
like
didn't put me off or anything like that,
grungy.
but I get why it might not be someone's cup of tea, because it is a
Yeah.
little different. But
Yeah.
yeah, it didn't take me out of the
It's
story
not
at
our
all. Yeah,
favorite, but it's not gonna go in like where maybe if it was some like your favorite style or whatever, then maybe that would be like you'd be like, I loved it. Maybe it would change it a little bit. But
yeah.
still good first issue. Definitely gonna come back for more. From Dark Horse, we have you're reading May's book, issue 3, Unbelievable Unteens, issue 4, No One Left to Fight 2. Issue 2 is what is a book I'm reading from Dark Horse this week. Aftershock, we got Chicken Devil, issue 2. Are you still reading Kanto from IDW?
I mean, I've got them all
Okay.
like lined up. I've read Canto 1. I read the initial series, which is awesome, and it's supposed to be. I think it got optioned, for a
Oh,
show, a cartoon, or something like that. But I still have some catching up to do with this series as a whole.
Okay, I know one series you're gonna have to catch up on later on, but you have no choice but to wait. Is We Have Demons 2 from Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo at
Can you
Comixology.
see that? Can you see that for those watching?
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
Huge We Have Demons fans over here. He's only read one issue. The second issue came out this week, and it was real like started off like a little bit like, okay, all right, cool. And then I think like midway through, maybe it's just like, oh fuck. Like the whole every
Yeah.
page. It's like, oh shit, the entire time.
Capullo alluded to it, right, when
Yeah,
he
it
talked.
was really good, and there was a line that they talked about on when we had Scott and Greg on. That's like that Scott seemed particularly proud of, and it was I saw it in here, and it's like, oh, this is exactly what he was
Was the
talking about.
swearing? The swearing
The
in
the swearing and the hip stuff, yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
it was really cool. So everybody else, go read it. Make sure you tell Joe how much you love it.
Dick.
Don't send any spoilers his way though. From Boom this week, Joe, Mighty Morphin issue 13. Again, Power Rangers fan, read Mighty Morphin, read Power Rangers. Those are two separate titles. I talked about the first arc for each on the show a while back. Been awesome. Really enjoying what Ryan Parrott's doing with both of those titles. And then we have the first issue of Regarding Oswald's Body, which you read.
Yeah, I mean, I loved it, and you don't know what's going on until the end of the book, and so you get a little bit in the beginning of you know, like a little bit that's going on, and then you're just introduced to four characters with this. You've got this sort of this one recruiter. He's just going around. Like you'll see a little story about a character, and and then all of a sudden, he gets, it's hard to explain, but like you got these four characters, and then there's one guy that's recruiting them all. And it's very interesting how the recruiter knows everything about these people, and the little 1 or 2 page story about that character before they get introduced to the recruiter, and then how it all comes together at the end. This is going to be a very interesting JFK, conspiracy, assassination, Lee Harvey Oswald story. Much different, than what we got with the Department of Truth.
Right.
But like very fascinating, very intriguing. The art, the writing was very, very interesting. So I'm definitely looking forward to reading the next issue of this one.
So I'm going to leave that one for you right now.
Damn
And
Skippy.
okay. And then so I know you love a good whodunit. And look, we talk about a wide variety of books here. Of course, you love horror, and superhero stuff as well, and then like the indie like hero type stuff that we get where it's a little bit more violent, but not really like anti-hero stories. But you loved a whodunit and detective stuff. But then you also really seem to like the conspiracy stuff, and I know horror is right there for you too. Do you know, like, do you have a favorite genre between those three, or is it not even one of those three?
I mean, I will always do, and choose a whodunit. That's always going to be my favorite.
Okay.
But I love horror because it's out of my, my
Comfort zone.
wheelhouse, out of my comfort zone, if you will. And I read a lot of it because the people that are writing them are fascinating as hell. Hey, kiddo.
Mm-hmm. Oh, look at that. It's the wee one.
She's throwing me off.
I can see that. That's what I was. That's what. I had a feeling it was still going to be a whodunit, but I wasn't certain.
Yeah, it always is, because that's just what I've always loved to read, whether it's prose or when I'm watching on TV or in movies. Like whodunits, good mysteries, like they will trump everything for me. That's just because I love trying to figure out, and then I love being surprised. And then I love rereading them after some time, because then you pick up on that stuff after the fact.
That's okay. So there we go. Now I know it's never going to change for Joe. I don't know. Like if you ask me what my favorite genre is, I just honestly, as long as there are pictures to the story, I'm going to give it a shot. But I guess it's probably fantasy, like high fantasy shit in the end, though. Gun to my head, probably. But anyways, we got AWA to round things out for what's new this week. We have Out issue 2 and Telepaths issue 3. Telepaths has been good. That's I can't go beyond good with it. And I think, and I'm wondering if that's going to be where it kind of stays. Just like just considering like what's going on with the resistance and everything, it's like it feels very similar. It's a different world, all this stuff. So, anyways, that's another conversation for another day, because I do want to get to Joe's book in a second. But Out issue 2, I did read that. That was a solid first issue. It was I think I gave it an 8.5 on Geek Worldwide, or an 8, something in that range. But this second issue, Joe, awesome. Like, it definitely takes that big second step.
Okay.
Really enjoyed it. The violence and the way things are developing and whatnot, and the little couple turns in it.
It needs that, because the first issue was good, not great. And so if it was that again,
you would have been out.
well,
Yeah.
it wouldn't have been out, but like issue 3 would have been really the make or break.
Yes, I still think you need to come back at the same level in this next issue, if not better, in the third one. But it was definitely a step in the right direction for sure. All right, Joe, it is time for you to tell us the book that you have planned for us this week.
So this is a book I've wanted to talk about, and and then with all the things that's coming up, it just kind of got pushed back and pushed back. And what's nice about November, Nicholas, is that we're going to actually get 3 mainline issues in a row here. And so the book I'm talking about this week is Chariot by Brian Edward Hill from AWA Studios. And the moment I read this first issue, I think I talked about on the show, I said, I am doing it on this show. I mean, it's absolutely fantastic. So, written by Brian Edward Hill, who also wrote American Carnage, which I talked about on the show a little while ago.
Yep.
Artist Priscilla Petraeus?
Maybe.
Petraeus. Colorist Lee Luthridge and Marco Lesko. And the letters by Ann World Design. And I gotta tell you, the colors on this book, man, like,
yeah,
one of the shining points of this comic is just the colors. It's got that sort of 1980s Miami Vice sort of color to it, like just Miami, just like boom, the bright pinks, the neons, absolutely fantastic.
The covers are cool too. I mean, I know you were like, obviously for those who only listen to the show and don't watch the live stream, Joe always has his green screen up and he has the book that we're talking. He's talking about on that day as his background. And I know you were going through 2 different options for Chariot. I love the one that you landed on, but like they're both, like the colors are definitely what jumps out with this these covers for sure.
Yeah, the art's fantastic. The covers were fantastic, and I mean the art isn't quite what for those watching, on the interiors aren't quite what the covers are, but they're still like really fucking close and really good. So, synopsis: Chariot was a Cold War era secret government project to provide its star agent with a weapon unlike any other in the form of a supercharged muscle car. It sank to the ocean decades ago, and the agent along with it. Now, a petty criminal looking to reform his life has stumbled upon the chariot, and is about to find out that the agent's consciousness is still controlling it in this synthwave thriller.
Synthwave, okay.
So, like, it's basically, it's like Knight Rider. Right? Like the car's it's got that Knight Rider kind of vibe to it, but a lot more sci-fi, a lot more high tech, and I mean, quite frankly, a lot more interesting. I mean, Knight Rider back in the day was great, but I think we mostly liked it because the theme song was so badass. But this was a real fast-paced sci-fi story. But it's more than that. You've got a love story in there, you've got a vengeance story in there, and you've got a story about redemption. And so, like AWA, most of their books are right in that 5-issue wheelhouse. So,
right.
It's a good arc. It's a good amount of books to tell an arc, but like you got to like each issue has to bring it, and that's what happens here, right? And like most of these AWA books, that like it's like nonstop. I reread this book the other night. I was like, okay, let me, usually when I've read a book, that I'm doing for the show, if I've read it already, I'll just sort of reread the first issue just as a refresher. I read all 5 issues, that night, like really quickly, because once you start, you just don't want to stop. You want to find out, what the hell's going on. And so, at the heart of what this book is and where it begins is you have this ex-con, and he seems like a good dude, and but it starts off, he's in the hospital, and his son is sick, and he's there with his ex-wife or his ex-girlfriend, who's the mother of the child, and he's trying to get his shit together, and
people can change.
Right, trying to be on the straight and narrow, but trying to pay the hospital bills, right? Right. And so like the kid is like really, really sick, and so he's sitting there and the bills are mounting up, and he works at this scrap yard. But he's telling his ex-girlfriend there that he's like, I'll go borrow some more money. He's already in debt up to his eyeballs to the local mobster, but like He's like, let me see if I can work it off, get some more money. We can pay these bills. We'll figure it out. Right. So like that, slinking back to the life of crime, it doesn't seem like it's a hard, thing for him to resist, but, he's willing to do it to help his kid. And so like, that's what the story becomes. It's like doing what he has to do to make sure that his son will live. Right.
Well, I got to tell you, Joe, before you go further on the plot of this, I could have told you from a mile away that this guy's clearly still a piece of shit, because if you look at his hair, it's really slicked back nice.
You think that's slick back? Pushed back, Nicholas.
Oh, it is
it's
shit.
Pushed back. He used to be a piece of shit.
Sounds like he still is, but I thought people could change, but proving me wrong with this story. Anyways, continue.
So, and then so where the story then goes from there is that he's at the scrapyard, and basically, his narration, he's talking about his job there, and basically, what it boils down to, he doesn't make a ton of money. He's breaking down cars, scrapping the parts, but any car that he comes across that he can fix, he can keep. So there's this beautiful car in the garage, and he's been working on it, but he's like, he pops open the hood and he's like, I've never seen anything like this before. And, but he'd been working on it for a while, and then who shows up but the mobster who wants his money. And this is where, Jim is the main character, tries to plead with him. He's like, listen, I'll be a driver for you. I'll do jobs for you. Like, I'm a little light on the cash. I need some more. And they start to beat the bag out of him. And then all of a sudden you see these headlights come on. This car just starts killing everyone. Right? Just runs over everyone but Jim.
Jeez.
And so like, then this is sort of where the story takes off, because as everyone else dies, Jim's just kind of sitting there. The car kind of pulls up to him, right? And the door opens and it just says, get in. Right. And so this is where we, are introduced to the Chariot. This is the end of the first book. And then this is sort of where the story takes off. And you come to, meet Jillian, who is the consciousness inside the Chariot. She was the agent who went down in this, with this car at the bottom of the ocean, which you get in the first issue in this really great actions, car chase scene. And you kind of see that origin of, the car going into the ocean, and she's there with it. And she found a way to, get her consciousness inside this car. So she's sort of achieved a level of immortality. And, she's like, I like you, Jim. You were kind to me, working on me, kind of thing. And she's like, I'm going to help you, with your son, like, because she's in this car, this high-tech car, she's able to tap into all sorts of, high-tech things. And, she's able to, wire a shit ton of money to the hospital from all these foreign accounts, to pay for the son's hospital bills. Right. So like, she's like, she makes a deal with him. She's like, I'll help your son if you help me get back into a human body. And so that's where you think this story is going. And then it takes a turn where you find out that Jillian, has a partner, that she, like, they pretty much, her and her partner were hired mercs, and they would do jobs for any agency that hired them. And they decided to go out on their own. They stole the Chariot, and then there's this big gap, right? And to where we are now. So Delia is her partner, and she wants the Chariot. Now that the Chariot has sort of come back to life, she's and so like, you find out about her past and all the cool like ways that she's found, because like, she should be an old, frail woman at this point. And you see how, she's able to sort of stay alive, and how she, like, it's hard to explain without spoiling it, but pretty much what it becomes is a story about Jim trying to save his son, Jillian trying to help Jim get back into a human body, and then her former partner trying to get the car back, and she will kill anybody that gets her away, and she kidnaps Jim's son in order to get what she wants. So like, there's a lot going on, but it's so well told. The sci-fi, the action, the art, the colors, like everything about this book, it's it's absolutely perfect. Like to why this was, adapted, AWA's first property adapted, to the big screen. Like
Yeah, huge
it's
deal. I
just
remember
absolutely tremendous.
when you first when we first heard that news, I knew you were already reading that, and it's like, oh, we need to talk about this on the show. I want to read this shit yesterday, but like because I knew you were very high coming into it. I did not know what to expect though. Like I didn't. I saw the news and I know who had written it and everything, but it's like I want to hear about it from you. Thriller was not what I expected Chariot to be, just by the cover and stuff.
Yeah, it's a thriller, in the sense that like it is fast paced.
Hmm.
Like there's no lulls in this book.
Yeah,
Like it is
this is a
just
true AWA book.
yeah. I mean, it's a book about a supercharged sentient car. Like it's pedal to the metal.
Hmm.
And again, they've got 5 issues. They got to tell the story. They got to tell, quick. Like Bad Mother, I loved. It was great, but like the end felt a little
Open
rushed.
ended.
Like
Oh,
well,
okay.
like a little like whoom, like they kicked it up to 11, like that last issue to kind of make it all stay within the. Whereas this, like it was just very steady. Like it was just a 10, 11 throughout. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
the way the story comes together, the background you get on the characters, how they're all connected, Jillian's relationship with Jim, like she, it's just there's all this really great stuff in it. And Brian Edward Hill's a great writer, and like a complete 180 from American Carnage, because we're not dealing with social issues here, and we're not dealing with race and hate and all that stuff. You're like,
Hmm.
this is a really fun, action packed sci-fi book. Like this is a movie like you would picture would have just come out in the 80s and we'd still be talking about today. Like it's one of
Hmm.
those like nostalgia classics. But it's going to come out in 2022 or 2023, and it's going to have all the you know uh all the special effects, and it's gonna kick ass, and I think it's gonna make for a great movie. And the characters are great. There's a little sax in it,
Oh. Oh.
which is very 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 tastefully done.
Oh, okay, good.
you know
Yes.
but like there's the real world, and then she's able to bring Jim sort of into her digital world. And so like when you see that happen, and just everything about it, it's just a really cool, great sci-fi action story.
So we talk about like Sean's book right earlier with Thumbs and how it's getting turned into a show. This is of course getting turned into a movie. Now, obviously, Sean's Thumbs was double issues, right, or more than double issues,
Yeah.
as much as it was a 6 issue story. With Chariot, it obviously we know it's getting optioned into a movie. But do you think there's a world where they could turn it into like a franchise and do more with it?
Yes.
Because okay.
Because the way it ends a little open-ended, right? So like if they don't make, like, if Brian Edward Hill never writes another issue of this book, I'm very satisfied where it ends. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that anyone else reading it'll be very satisfied where it ends. But it's a little open-ended too.
Hmm.
We're like, okay, they leave room to come back for, and now at the end of it says end of volume 1, so it feels like there's plans to keep this going,
Hmm.
because there is a lot they could do with it. And I don't want to spoil. I'm not going to spoil the end, obviously, but like
Hmm.
how things resolve and then where things go and the decisions that are made, like it's set up for like a really good like buddy cop kind of thing between
Hmm.
Jillian and Jim, and where they could go, the stories that could be told. So
Okay.
absolutely
So
fantastic.
I'm gonna read this absolutely before the movie comes out. But I'm this is sounds like it delivered in every sense. Another AWA hit, of course, one of the earlier ones. And any I like seeing them kind of try and do longer stuff, but when they stay in that like 5 issue range, like I don't want AWA to just be limited to that. But they do a really good job when they keep
Yeah.
it really tight. There's just like no fat, it moves fast and everything.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna go to another indie company, one that we've not talked about at all. Honestly, I didn't even know this indie company existed. I don't know if they're what they're doing these days because they still print this trade. I know that. That's Avatar Press, and the book from Avatar Press that we're talking about. I've teased this book a little bit. Talked about it on Dork when we did our horror books episode with them. Crossed. And I've been mentioning it. I mentioned it on Change My Mind, how it's like the most disgusting comic I've ever read in my entire life, and I'm not exaggerating. I've been telling Joe about it for a while. I haven't been telling him in detail, but I've just told him it's really, really fucked up. to the point where like I can't even like I won't even attempt to like show you any art because your kid's watching. This is like the worst one for your kid to be watching. I know she can't hear me, but it's just like this is if you listen to TLDR with your kids, that's awesome. One. Second, don't listen to any more of this episode with your kids because this is bad. And like the reason I say that, and I can show you the cover of this first issue, and we'll be fine. But on the surface, it looks like just a zombie book, kind of, right? And even these zombies that we're dealing with, they're not like all rotted. Some of them look a little bit more ghostly and whatever. But their whole thing is like they have this red cross on their face, like a sign of the cross. And I'm sure that's done intentionally by Ennis. It's never really addressed specifically in here. But I saw this book at Time Capsule, and it was like they have a horror section there and everything. And I see this is the only book in that section, Joe, and it has a ton of. I mean, that's where I saw Red Mother, and there's we see it's something killing children, and there's a bunch of other stuff there, horror titles that we've talked about. And then I see Crossed, and it is the only one that's in a poly bag. I'm pretty sure the only one in a poly bag, but definitely the only one that has a poly bag that says adults only written on it. I've never seen that before, unless you like go to like a place that sells like Playboy, and of course it has like all the stuff covered and everything, or you buy your nudie cover of what do you call it? The last book you'll ever read.
Playboys and sell it, please. So tame.
So, but okay, well, you know what? Compared to this shit, yeah, you're absolutely right. It's fucking tame. So the first volume is 10 issues, and I thought originally I was just going to talk about that; it'd be enough. It's a Garth Ennis book, and then the artist on that is Jason Burrows. They're co-creators on this. Is a creator-owned book, again from Avatar Press, which I've never seen any other stuff from them. I don't know. Like I checked their Twitter account; they aren't doing stuff like putting stuff out there. So I don't know what their deal is, but I know that they're still printing this book because I picked up 2 and 3 recently. That after Time Capsule had ordered some. Now I was gonna just do the one, and it's really good. Like it's really good. But then I was talking to my guy about it, and he's like, "Oh, have you read like 2? Are you gonna read 2 and 3? Like the second and third volumes? Like, do you have them?" He's like, I just got them. I just ordered them, and I was like, okay. He's like, 3 is the best one of them all, and there's a lot, but it's like the most. It's like they basically just said, let's just do what we've been doing, but like more fucked up. And I was like, I'm sorry, like what? When you said that to me, so I read 1. Really good. And it's Garth Ennis. So of course, I'm going to like it. I read 2. I'm like, this is even better. And it's more fucked up. But I'm like, this is like just as fucked up as I need it to be. Like we're fine here. And I'm going to explain a little bit what that means. I get to 3. Again, the one that's supposed to be the most fucked up one of them all, not even an exaggeration. The art is the most revolting stuff I've ever seen. Like it works and makes sense and everything like that. But it's like, holy crap. Just the images that they're depicting on this, it's like, what the fuck is going on? So the second and third volume were written by David Lapham. Pencils on the second volume are by Javier Barreno, inks by Julian Hungard Burt, and then colors by Digicore Studios. The third volume is again by Lapham, and the artist on that is Raulo Caceres, who I don't know that I ever want to meet in person. I don't know if I want to meet David Lapham in person either, to be quite honest. Some of this shit he's right. No, my God, he makes like Garth Ennis seem like tamer. It's fucking unbelievable. And then Digicore Studios did the colors on that as well. The second volume is titled Family Values, Crossed Family Values. The third one is Crossed Psychopaths. So let me read a little bit of the synopsis because it's going to help you understand it a little bit more in terms of the zombie type monster people that we're dealing with. Okay. Through 10 heart-stop, this is the synopsis for Ennis, but it kind of covers it. Through 10 heart-stopping chapters, Crossed is Garth Ennis's horrifically visceral exploration of the pure evil that humans are truly capable of indulging. This gut-wrenching vision is brought to vivid in more than a little disturbing life by his partner in crime, Jason Burrows. Imagine for a moment the worst crime against humanity. Picture the cruelest affronts to decency. Conjure your darkest nightmares, and then realize it could all be so much worse. When civilization crumbles in one terrifying moment, when people are gleefully breaking into unthinkable acts of violence all around you, when everyone you love has died screaming in agony, what would you do? There is no help. There is no hope. There is no escape. There are only the crossed. Certain to be the most depraved and corrupt book of the year. And this, of course, that's a little bit older, but it's the most depraved and corrupt book I've ever read in my life. And I don't know that it'll ever be topped. So with Joe, with like, when you think of zombies, right? I'm going to put you on the spot here. When you think of zombies, you know, whether they're fast or slow zombies, what do zombies just typically do in your head?
They eat brains.
Right. They eat brains. They eat people in some capacity. They turn people in some cases too if they don't eat them up enough or whatever. In some cases, it doesn't really matter. These people do get like eaten up. The cross are cannibalistic in some senses, but they also will just beat the shit out of people, and they also like being beat up in some capacity. In some capacity. I mean, like I saw there's like I get like there's like people using like gardening tools, like a cross on another cross, like using gardening tools, and the one that's being like attacked with the gardening tools is enjoying it. They make people do stuff to other people in like very vicious, like vile sexual acts, and it's just like, what the hell is this crap?
You kept reading it.
I know that's the real problem. Is I kept reading it, and okay. So I really like the first issue, the first volume. I really like the second one. The third one is so well done, but at the same time, after I read it, I'm like, "The fuck's the matter with you, dude? How did you read that whole goddamn thing? It was so gross. Like the art was gross. It's well done, but like the images that I'm seeing. With the Garth Ennis story, it's much more like any kind of zombie story you would think, in the sense of like you're dealing with a group and they got to make decisions and all that stuff. But it's Ennis, so you're going to see him like he's going to put his spin on it, and it's well done. When we get to Family Values, that is a family that's like from Utah or whatever, and you have like they have their own like family values. They have their own family issues that they were dealing with already beforehand. You're following the main character Addie in that story, and she's got to make a lot of tough decisions, and she's put into difficult situations because of things that go on with her family, and then because of the cross as well. So there's a lot of fucked up shit that goes on there. And then the most messed up one is Psychopath, and that's following a character named Lori. That is his last name. I'm drawing a blank on his first name. I forgot to write it down, but he is the psychopath, and you find out in the first issue. So I'm not spoiling anything. But oh my god, like you don't know it at first you know from the cover who he is, but like as it goes on, it's just like it gets worse and worse and worse, and it's like you're worse than the cross one because you actually could stop this, like you would think, right? You don't have that illness that the cross have, but he's does some shit that's like just as bad, if not worse. It's insane, Joe. Like I seriously, if you guys pick these up, they do not read any of them around your kids. I'm not kidding. And I wouldn't I'm not a parent, so like you do whatever you want to do. I'm not one to like censor stuff for people. I don't believe in that. That said, like I just don't know if this is something that like anybody under the age of like, I don't know, 25 should read.
Nicholas J. Esquire, smut peddler for hire.
For real, man. Honestly,
smokes.
It's crazy. I mean, I can't show you the images because I know you have your kid in the room, man. But it's just like there's messed up things that humans.
You got me in the room. I don't want to see that.
Boom! I pull up to one page in Family Values, and I got a priest like who's crossed, and he's like got two people next to him doing their own thing. He's doing his own thing with somebody, and it's just like, oh my god! One of the characters' name is, I think it was Horsecock, I believe the character's name was. So it's like you got this other character who's had his like limbs cut off, and he has no eyes, but he has like very enhanced smell and can't really talk. He can just grunt. Those are characters just from Ennis's story. So it's just like, dude, it's a lot. It's really good though, and it's like you don't think if body horror really messes with you, don't read it too. But it's like when you think about a horror book, like we've talked about like shit that gives us goosebumps. Like Bunny Mask gives me the shivers, right? I have nightmare about that or whatever if I read it at night, or like I'll have trouble sleeping. Those are the kind of books we talk about more. This is like you're reading it and it's like, how is a human capable of thinking of these things? Because in the end, like the cross are doing these acts, but other people are writing this shit.
That's typically the type of horror that I will bow out on, because
rough.
Like, yeah. Jesus Christ.
Yippee yo, yippee yay. Where's my dog? Yep.
I will bow out on because I don't need that. Like, there's one thing about like when you read a good horror story, whether it's the autumnal, whether it's witches, whether it's Red Fork, like it gives you that sense of unease, it scares you a little bit, but like there's more to it
Mm-hmm.
versus something that's just flat out gratuitous.
Yep.
I
Yeah.
don't do gratuitous. Out on the gratuitous.
It's so this may be the first one where like right out the gates you're not going to read this book that I have. I will happily lend them to you, but
I
they
can't
are
have that shit in my
yeah,
house.
yeah, you honestly can't, Joe. I mean, like you have to have it on your iPad under like lock and key or something like that. But the reason I don't mention a main character for the first one is just because like there's a group, and I like going into that experience, you just don't want to be. You're better off not getting too attached to anybody. But definitely some messed up things. Like it's definitely very interesting. But with the other like with the family values one, it like that character Addie, you definitely want to get to know her more, and the same goes for Lori and Psychopath because they're both narrating. But it's and all these are set in the same world, but you don't see any of this stuff cross paths. And there's a lot more than the stuff I've read. Like there's you have like what is it cross plus 100, and there's been stuff. Kieran Gillen did a cross series. Cy Spurrier did cross stuff, and then who was it? Ennis came back to do some stuff too for Cross Badlands, which I think was the longest run of cross stuff, and you had a lot of different people there. So that's maybe the one where you have a little bit of crossover and some like from story to story. But these trades I talked about today are their individuals, and Alan Moore did some cross stuff too. So like it's really well done. I know I'm talking about how weird it is and how messed up it is, and it really is. Like seriously, it's like to everybody listening, like think of the most messed up thing that's something that can happen, like that you could think of somebody doing, and for those it's times freaking 10 every time something bad happens on these pages.
Yeah,
it's
yay,
insane.
Yay!
It's messed up, man. It's messed up, but I felt dirty after the third volume. I really did. I'm like, I can absolutely talk about this series, but like, I gotta put that out there. Like, you read the whole third one, Psychopath, and it's like, I gotta look in the mirror for a little bit, or maybe I shouldn't. I gotta take a shower and then try and look in the mirror. And
gotta scrub. Scrub
a little bit. But that is it for TLDR 52. Of course, you can listen to Joe on Twitch. What are you guys doing?
Yeah, we're back, baby.
Okay,
we're back, baby. Yeah, it's been with me starting the new job and being a little overwhelmed and trying to figure out my new routine, and then Billy had to go away last week for DraftKings. We're gonna come back bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, ready to go.
Nice.
Thursday night, 8:30 on Twitch, on Twitter,
in the DSG Facebook page.
In the DSG Facebook page. Psych Season 3, Episode 10, 6 Feet Under the Sea. Nice. So very, very excited to get back at that. And,
excellent.
Hey, kiddo, come here.
Oh, and real quick, of course, you can listen to Change My Mind over on. We talked about the Eternals this week, like everybody else in the DSG. Oh, look at it, it's Swaggins. What's happening? You gonna say hi hello? This time or what?
You gonna say hi? You gonna apologize to the people for distracted Daddy?
This happens to me all the time. She never
says
say
no, Daddy. I'm too cute. All right.
This is the fact that this is the show that Swaggins pops in on. It really is remarkable. It's unbelievable. But anyways, until next time, Joe, stay sexy.
You know it.